Every time you open up PowerPoint, this is going to be your default view. It's called the normal view. That is, over on the left-hand side, you get your thumbnail previews. Whatever you select over here, it updates it over here, which is the editing area, so you can edit the content within the slide. And then down below, you've got an area to add notes to each slide. Now, the purpose of adding a note to a slide is that later on, I'll show you that you can print off those notes with each slide. So on one page, you'll have the slide, and then at the bottom half of the page, you'll have your notes. Why would you want to do that? I don't know about you, but when I give presentations, if I have a lot to say, I don't want to put it all in one slide. I just want to give them the highlights or the main points, and then the details will be in my notes. And if I don't have it memorized, at least when I print these pages off, I can look on that page, the top part, and see the slide and compare it to the one that's projecting up on the screen during my presentation, and then go, oh, I can come down here and go ahead and read the notes and say here are the details about the main points that I'm covering. Or maybe you've got something to do like on slide 2. And at this point, you may want to type in something like hand out training video samples. Because maybe during the presentation I get so bogged down with other things to talk about, I forget what I'm supposed to be doing. So when I look up on the screen and I see this being projected, I know to look at my page for this slide, slide number 2, and read my notes. Oh, now we hand out training video samples. So keep that in mind. We'll come back to that in just a minute. But to cover the other views that are available that may be helpful when it comes to creating or editing your slides, depending upon what you're doing, including working with your notes and the pages that will be printed off, then come up here and click on the View tab, go to the Presentation Views group, and there you go. You've got the normal view, which is the default view, and see if this makes sense. Looking at the image, you can see 3 little squares there. That's the thumbnail preview area of what you see. And then you've got the big square over to the right, the working area. And then down below, you've got your notes, which again, if you don't see them, down below on the status bar, if you click on notes, disappear, click on it again, you can see it. And if you don't see the notes, right-click anywhere on the status bar and make sure that you have notes checked or selected. If not, then check it and then click off and you're good to go. So besides the normal view, next you have the outline view. Click on that. It removes the thumbnail preview because the purpose of this is to work on text only and not have to scroll from one slide to the next. You can see it's all right here, so it's easy for me just to go ahead like on slide 2. And whatever I do over here as far as editing goes will update the corresponding slide in the working area. So we just have O and vice versa. Come over here in the working area, type in the letter N, updates the outline, the title here over on slide 2 in the outline view. And not only that, but in this view, if you want, when you hover over that little square there, you can see a 4-way arrow. Whenever you see that, that means it can be moved in 4 directions. If I click and drag and I move it down, and you can see that line there, that thin gray line, wherever I let go, that's where it's going to end up. So I can rearrange my slides there if you'd like. Let me hit undo. When I click and drag in, I don't want to do that here because it will delete the slide, the note page, and any graphics or media, so that doesn't work for here. And if I click and drag out, there's nowhere else to go to. But if I come down here, click off, come down here, and I click on one of the bullets, and I move it out, it actually creates a new slide. So it says the bulleted points for this that was supporting the main theme there, let me hit undo, for on our website now became a new slide. So click and drag, it's a new slide, and the first bulleted point now becomes the title, and its sub-bullets to that main bullet now becomes the main bullets for that title that used to be the main bullet for those sub-bullets. I'll go ahead and hit undo. So you can work with this a little bit when it comes to text, making it easier if you're not focused on the design, the objects, the shapes, but just the text part of it. Then next you have the slide sorter view, which is the opposite. You just want to focus on the images, not the content. You don't want to update any of the content. It's a glorified thumbnail preview, as we covered in an earlier training video. There's a few other features in here that we'll cover later on, but to keep it simple, you can click and drag and move your slides around, back and forth. And if you want to be able to view more slides at once, to get an idea of how it flows and the titles, if you can still see them, add 100% here. Then you can come down here and maybe try to click and drag the zoom bar down just a little bit. I can still see the titles, so that's pretty good. And then that way I can allow more slides to come into the area here. And then next we have our notes page, and you can see in the pop-up that you can see how your presentation will look when printed out with notes. Let's go ahead and click on it. And If you can't see it, like it's cut off at the top because it should be an entire page, come down below in the right hand corner and click on Fit Slide to Current Window. There you go. Now each slide is going to have its own page. The top part's going to be the picture of the slide, and then down below are going to be our notes. Now remember, we just added notes to slide 2. You can see down below in the lower right hand corner, it's kind of tiny, but it says 2. Or you can come over here and click on the scroll bar, and you can see in the pop-up we're on slide or notes 2 of 4, and the title of it on our website. And that way you can navigate around as well. Come up here and let's go to slide 1 of 4. You can also add notes here. Add more notes. So whatever notes you add in the notes page view will also be updated and viewable in the normal view. See, add more notes. And whatever you do here will also be available and display in the notes page view. Now, why would you want to come here in the notes page view? A few reasons. One is that if you want to have a smaller thumbnail or picture when you print off these pages, then you can select it, hover over the lower right hand corner, that white box, the resizing handle, until you can see arrows pointing in opposite directions. That means that it's now resizable. Click and drag to push it in. And then click down below in the text box. You can hover over the top middle resizing handle and click and drag that. So you have more area for your notes if you got a lot of notes. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself because we do have a training video on editing this area. In any case, that's the purpose of it. And then you have the reading view, and it's just like a book. You got your little left and right arrows to go next, to read, to read, to read. And then when you're done, you can go back to the normal view. How do you do that? Well, it's right over here. There it is, normal view. We're back to normal. And then you have the final view. Well, we'll cover this a little bit more in detail later on. But the slideshow, that when you click on it, that's what people are going to be seeing. At least you can see it on the computer. And when you have the projector hooked up to your computer, that will be thrown up onto the screen or a wall, wherever you're projecting it to. And then you can click to navigate from one to the next. And you don't see any part of the PowerPoint program, at least the design view, just the full image of the slide. And then you can click until you get to the end, and then the last slide is a blank slide or a black slide that says End of Slideshow. Click to exit. That's fine. Because the other option when you begin your slideshow, if you want to end it right there, you don't have to click, click, click to get to the end. You can just hit the escape key and be done with it.